notion. Does everybody have a notion? A notion? If everybody has a notion across the USA, I'm across the USA and I have a notion. Do you have a notion? I'm just cracking myself up with my Lady Mondegreens. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this is the last episode. Oh my gosh, 51 times. 51 times in the past year. 51 times in the last year I have put on lipstick. I have, trust me, I'm dressed from the neck down to the feet, though I'm wearing my slippers today. Hey, Cliff Hillis, nice to see you. And Debbie and Craig, like high fives, you guys. You're always my best shower upperers. So thank you so much for tuning in. Oh, today's kind of bittersweet, but more sweet than bitter. I'm not a bitter person. I'm a sweet person. But yeah, I am. I cannot believe that it is New Year's Eve day. Can you guys believe that, like 9 months ago, Charles, nice to see you. New Year's Eve, exactly. New Year's Eve. It's also would have been my dad's birthday. I guess it still is his birthday, but he's no longer with us. It's the end of the year. It is episode 51 of Retro Roadmap Facebook Live, and the last one I'm going to be doing for quite a while. Who knows what the new year will bring. Hopefully awesome stuff. And I am just so, I am so proud of all of us for showing up every single week. Well, at least me. And most of you all have shown up too, which has been so much fun. I mean, check this out. I was thinking about it when I was writing the post today, and here's my map that I printed out like 9 months ago, and I started crossing these things off, and then I realized, holy free holies, there's a lot of states in the US, but I managed to time it so that the last state that I'd be covering, which would be California, right here, ends on New Year's Eve. And then, you know, I feel like I was talking about this today, that we've all been on a road trip together. We started at point A, which was actually Point Maine, because I went the east to the west, because that's how I roll, right? And most cross-country road trips always just seem to go, they flow east to west. It's just the thing. But we have been in a bus together for an hour a week for however many weeks it's been. It hasn't been 50, but it's been pretty darn close. And so we have hit every single state, you guys. I have been driving this bus. Check out my hat. I've been driving a bus. We've hit every single state in the US through the magic of the interwebs. We even took our little Retro Roadmap bus ride to Hawaii, where we found some cool things. And then we went to Alaska too. We you know, through the magic of television, little tiny television on my phone here, we drove through every single state, and we stopped at a lot of cool vintage places. We stopped at some mid-century modern places. We stopped at some places that you know, have been around for decades, or maybe just even a handful of years, but have that cool vibe that we all love. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining me. On this road trip. And it's been fun because it's been, you know why it's been fun? Because I've been the driver. I mean, I'm just saying it's been fun for me because I have been able to share with you, and this is what I love to do. I love to discover stuff that I'm like, ooh, this is so exciting. It's like collecting. It's like collecting my snow domes. It's like finding something I'm excited about is one thing, and then I get to share it with somebody else, and then you see how exciting it is to me. So I have been able to share with you over the past 9 months or so my favorite places that if I was traveling now, I'm not traveling, not sure when we're going to start up, going to wait for it to be safe, but if I were traveling to each one of the 50 states in the US, these are the places that I would be like, I would be going, I would be saying, go there, go to the mom and pops, go to the places that mean a lot to you, the vintage and retro places that have been around for decades that are definitely struggling along with all of our businesses right now. So give them your love, give them your Facebook likes, give them your money, spend your money locally, right? And we would be able to we did that kind of virtually through all these states. And we are ending up in California. I almost didn't print out a map because I'll be honest, Lynn, nice to see you. Thank you. Happy New Year. I almost didn't print out a map, but it felt weird if I didn't since I've done it for every single one of these episodes. We all know what California looks like, right? And this is one of my five maps. I actually have 5 different maps for California in my little collection because I get so excited about a certain place that I have so many pins that I put down. So I've got one for the whole state. I've got one for LA. I've got one just for Palm Springs. And so I will guarantee we've got an hour. Yeah, there's no way I can show you all of the places here. But yes, Craig Nye, you are spot on because I am going to show you, I am going to tell you about Palm Springs. Nice to see you and nice to see everybody. Feel free to chat amongst yourselves in the comment section. I love the fact that I really feel like people have gotten to know each other because you have shown up in the comment section. Maybe, you know, names are familiar, you know. It's just so nice to see everybody. Carol Jacksina, nice to see you. Matt Smallwood, nice to see you too. Yes, I am a visual. I mean, my Massachusetts, my U.S. passport has been stamped multiple times crossing each one of these states, even though I've never really left. Well, isn't it funny? This is where I get all reminiscent. Like I started out doing these videos, and they're all on the Facebook. The Facebook page right here, you can watch them. We started it when we were painting this room, when we were in lockdown at the very first time. So everything, we were doing it out in the Hacienda living room. And if you look at those first few episodes in the green room, as we like to call it, you'll see probably there was crap in the background because it was everything in this room had been moved out to there. And that was fun for a while, but then the weather got warmer. And then I decided to do a bunch of them from outside in the summer studio, AKA the garage, right in front of our cute little vintage camper. And that was a lot of fun. But then it got a little bit too cold. And now we're back here in the, Retro Roadmap HQ, as I like to call it. You can see my books. My books are above there. Check it out. I'm so excited. What size is it? This side right here. I sold out of my North New Jersey color books before Christmas, so I was very excited about that. But yeah, let's talk about California. And I could talk about California. And here's the funny thing. So as many of you know, and it probably will become apparent when I start talking, is that while I try to put my eyes in, I'm originally from Massachusetts. And so, honestly, when I grew up, California literally was on the other side of the country, still is, but also it was like, who needs California? We've got everything we need right here at the hub of the universe. And I'm thinking, yeah, you're right. So for years, I was like, God, California, whatever. Literally, people used to call it, maybe they still do, the land of the fruits and nuts, which is true. They have fruits and nuts there. But I love California. And the reason I love California is because I went out there on a trip by myself, flew by myself. Oh, it's so scary because you're in your 30s and you finally do that. And that's where I met Retro Road Husband. I met Retro Road Husband in California. I have met some wonderful people in California. The people I know from the East Coast have moved there. I have met wonderful Californians. The weather is beautiful. I love it. I am a sucker for the coast, I have to say. I really love the ocean and that feeling of like literally being on the edge of the country and just looking at the vastness of the ocean, just the salt air, it gets to me. So while I grew up having disdain for the Yankees and California, I don't really care about the Yankees, but boy, do I love California. So I could talk about it like for evs. And so I am going to start, as I've done this before for the last couple of episodes, and since this is the last one, why not continue that? So let's say the power went out, right? Power goes out 5 minutes into this. If I had told you about one place in California that I love the most, and then power went out, actually, you know what, here, power went out, it would be Palm Springs. Now, I don't know why, to me, I'll be honest, I kind of know why, like in my head, that there is a magnet underneath Palm Springs, California that draws me to it. It reminds me of where I live now, just in that thing of like, I kind of have a crush on this town. And I think it's for a couple of reasons. First of all, I love mid-century modern architecture. those low slung buildings that you don't have to climb upstairs to get to. They're modern looking and they're nice and, you know, sleek and elegant and clean and simple, not a lot of fussy stuff around it. As you can see, if you look behind me, I'm all about kind of clean lines and white with some bright pops of color. There's something about it. I did not even know about Palm Springs until maybe the last 10 years, 15, 20, I can't remember. I'd known about it for a while, but we didn't go there until, it was probably 10 years ago the first time we went. We went for a modernism week, which is a thing they do usually it's every February. Now with the COVID, it's kind of pushed off, but check into that. And it is just such a neat, fun place where I love the architecture. Frankly, one of my goals is, and if you're on the East Coast or any place now where the weather is cold, I have started to totally, I'm not going to sing that Anne Murray song that my mother had the 45 of, but snowbird, suddenly the word snowbird, I love that idea. I love that notion of being able to be like, you know what, this crappy weather here is not going to change, but I can move myself to where it's warm. So I am very excited to tell you about that. So Palm Springs, if it's only about 2 hours west of Los Angeles, you can fly into it. Actually, we flew into Palm Springs last year when we went, and that was just so much fun to literally like get off of the plane and walk out, and there's like palm trees and stuff like that. I love it. And I was thinking about what would I tell you to do in Palm Springs? And there's so much, but also literally just kind of absorbing the whole vibe, you know, like for a place to stay, I would recommend, if you'd like to, you can rent houses there. So if you have enough people in your crew and that seems like the right thing to do, we did that and it was a lot of fun. We used Acme House Rentals, but there are different places you can do that and rent kind of that quintessential mid-century modern house and, you know, kind of do that vibe. The other thing is they do have a bunch of really cool hotels and motels and stuff. The one that we stayed at, which I love, was the Orbit Inn. The Orbit Inn Hotel, which is right within walking distance, a couple of blocks from the downtown. It's an old school 50s motel, and they have done up each room in kind of a different theme, but not overt. When I'm going to talk before the episode is up about the Madonna Inn in San Luis Obispo. Now that's themey, mixed themerson. Like that's just like over the top. But the Orbit Inn has just that kind of great, kind of fun, like 40s, 50s, 60s vibe, which I absolutely love. So I would tell you to stay in some place that, you know, you enjoy where you're staying, that you love your surroundings, right? Then also, if you want to get kind of the lay of the land, I highly recommend, and this is one of the things we did the last couple of times we've been there, we've taken architectural tours. I think it's the Palm Springs Mod Squad does some architecture tours, which are so much fun. Kurt Sear will drive you around, and if you take the right tour, you can actually go into some people's houses and get like literally behind the scenes, and he talks all about the Brise Soleil, the Breeze Block, which is one of my favorite. Does anybody besides me have a favorite building? I don't want to say like a building block. Yeah, for some reason, you know, concrete blocks aren't my thing, but boy, do I love Breeze Block. So I would recommend kind of getting a lay of the land like that. And then literally I loved getting up and just walking around because every house is different. Old school, new school, people have renovated it, people have kitsched it up. I just so enjoy architectural diversity wherever you know what I mean? And even people that have the same houses, how they deal with them separately. So the weather's beautiful. You can go horseback riding. We went horseback riding the last time I was there, up into the mountains. You're right near a couple of places. So that's Palm Springs. You can go to, there's the Tiki Bar, there's the Tonga Hut that's there, there's Bootlegger Tiki, there's an art museum. Like literally, I could go on for the whole hour about Palm Springs, but I have the entire state of California to go through. But if the lights went off, as I said, boom, that's all, and you went to Palm Springs, you'd have a fabulous time, according to Maud Betty. Now, right around Palm Springs, and this is so funny because usually I'm looking at my notes, right? And this is all up here because I love it so much, but I just want to make sure I got everything done. So, a couple of things that are in that general area. And yes, Craig Nye, you're right. The incline is very fun to go up the incline up to the mountains. And it's crazy how it can be so hot down the bottom of the mountains, and then you get up there and they've actually got the snow there. But a couple of places that are near Palm Springs of worthy note. If you go kind of, I'm thinking south, but it's like southeast. In Indio, Shields Date Farm was a wicked lot of fun. Dates, you know, those little like soft, chewy, like fruits that you get off of a date tree. You can take your date to a date tree place, and you can have lunch there. You can watch a goofy old charming film about how they introduced date trees to the California valleys, the Coachella Valley there. A lot of fun. And here was a neat thing. This year for Christmas, because we were there last year, we received a little gift of some dates. Oh, that was so cute. Some dates from Shields that had that flavor of when we went there. So it's kind of neat to have those flavors and those foods that remind you of where you've been. Yes, and the windmill farms are amazing too. That's a wonderful kind of sight to see when you're driving through the desert out there. So good call, Lynn. Also, when you're driving through there, you are in the desert, and so while Palm Springs is, you know, populated and all, you know, built up as far as, you know, human habitation and stuff like that, just maybe a half hour or so up the road is Joshua Tree National Park, where you can get out and you can walk around, and it really looks in times like you are on like another planet, and it's so much fun. Speaking of other planets up there, you guys, this is one of the things I want to do one of the next times we go back. Couple of places I need to recommend. One is probably, these ones are vying for themselves as far as like that UFO type thing. So somebody recently started an Airbnb called Area 51. And what it is one of those Futuro houses. Now, if I say Futuro house, you may not know what it looks like. But if I say like those houses that look like UFOs, they're kind of domed. They're almost like a shape of like a whoopie pie or something. You've seen them with the little oval windows around it. So they have one of those in Joshua Tree that you can actually rent out and stay in. So that's wicked fun if you're into that kind of thing. I am. Mid-century modern. I like Retro Road Husband. He's kind of into that UFO thing. His brother more so. But still, we would totally stay there in a heartbeat. And then the other place that's kind of in that kind of woo-woo UFO vibe is a place called the Integratron. Now, I'm going to totally mangle the history of this place. I will suggest you Google it, but it's such a cool, interesting place to go. It is, you go there and you pretty much like lay down on a blanket and they play bowls, and you kind of get all like, you know, try to connect up with extraterrestrials. And while I'm totally not selling it the way I should, I highly recommend you go there because it's amazing. There's also this giganto rock in the middle of nowhere that you can go see. And then if that's a bit too woo-woo for you, you're not like UFOs, meditating and looking for, you know, trying to, you know, attach yourself to the celestial sphere, that's not my deal. I'm bringing it back down to the fun retro road mapping stuff because there's Kate's Lazy Meadow. Well, Kate's Lazy Meadow, as people know. Thank you for whoever, I can't see who put it up there, but I wouldn't be surprised. It looks like Cliff Phyllis's legs there, maybe. But anyhow, I got distracted by the comments. Yes, Kate Pearson of the B-52s. She has a place in upstate New York called Kate's Lazy Meadow, okay? And she also has a place in Joshua Tree, and I think I called it Kate's Lazy Desert. I might not have it right, but seriously, you stay in vintage campers, kitschily outfitted vintage campers in the middle of the desert. How much fun is that? So, a couple of places. Those are just in Joshua Tree. Also, speaking of kitsch and B-52s, and that makes me think of Pee Wee Herman. All these things I love. Anybody also love Pee-wee's Great Adventure or Pee-wee's Big Adventure? I love it so much I get their name wrong. Classic. How he goes on his road trip. He goes to find his bike, right? And he goes and he's got his bindle stick and he's there, and then he shows up and he sees these giant dinosaurs, right? In the middle of things, and he meets Large Marge, and then he goes and hangs out with bonjour, Pee-wee, the waitress. Long story short is those giant dinosaurs that are in Pee-wee's Big Adventure really exist. They're in Cabazon, which is kind of en route from Palm Springs, Joshua Tree area to LA. So you can see them yourself. You can't walk in there and you can't climb up and say all my friends have big butts, even though you want to. But you can get your picture taken there. Charles Phoenix, he's been there a couple of times over the holiday season, and I love this so much because they painted them for the holiday season. So the giant Tyrannosaurus Rex, you know, with like the little feet, he's like painted like Santa Claus, which I think is wicked cute. Simone, thank you. Thank you, Scott Marks. Yes, because isn't there a band? I think there was a band called Au revoir Simone or something like that. So I appreciate it when people add their 2 cents worth in the comments section. So thank you for doing that. And two, I am not going to get to all my favorite places in California in the next 40 minutes. So if you have a place that you want people in the comments now or watching later to know about, that it's in California, that you think Retro Road Mappers will love, pop it into the comments section. You know what I mean? This is a hive mind. This is like stone soup. I give you my ideas, you share yours, and then we're both more knowledgeable for it. So yes, Simone was the waitress in Pee-wee who wanted to go to France. Au revoir, Pee-wee. And while we're still kind of out in the eastern part of California, because once we hit the coast, I'm going to have a lot to talk about, but 2 really interesting places I have to tell you. Yes, and they're 2 pets. Yes, exactly. Wonderful to see you, Jeff Cooper. Thank you for chiming in from the UK. Wigwam Village. Okay, so where's my map? So remember, I've talked about these Wigwam Villages. I feel like I'm doing a little quiz. Okay, so there's 3 Wigwam Villages left in the U.S., right? Yes, three of them. One of them is in Kentucky. Yep, one of them is in Kentucky. The other one's in Arizona. And the final Wigwam Village, you know, where every place is shaped like a little teepee and kind of like the cozy cone in Cars, is in, oh yeah, so here we go. One's over here, and that's one here. I was like, why am I holding my map? But Wigwam Village number 7, it's the oldest one, actually it's the youngest one, it's the last one they built. It's in San Bernardino, absolutely adorable. It's run by the Patel family. They keep that place in tip-top shape. It's got a pool. It's so adorable and well run. You can stay in your own little teepee. It's so cute, like a little, you know, it's not like a teepee, because you can do that nowadays, but it's like a concrete teepee. It's right on Route 66. So if you're doing a Route 66 trip, you know it goes from Chicago to LA, and before you get to LA, you can stop through San Bernardino. It's actually in the song, right? San Bernardino, Flagstaff, Arizona, Kingman, Barstow, San Bernardino. Yeah, so you can stay there. Yes, Michael G., the Musée Mécanique in San Francisco. What an unexpected delight that place was. So yes, if you're up in San Francisco, check that place out. I was recently thinking about one of the crazy mechanical things. Laughing Sal, I think it is. It's a giant lady going, ah. That is a fun place to go to. So thank you for chiming in with that. So Wigwam Village number 7 is in San Bernardino. And then here's a really cool place. Now, I haven't been to this, but somebody I know, actually it used to be a coworker of a coworker of a coworker, told me about Rod's Grill in Indio. Now, Rod's Grill in Indio, if you watched Mad Men, remember Mad Men? This is the place that looks so much like an old-timey Howard Johnson's, that when they filmed the episode where they went on vacation and Don Draper and the tall girl that was his new wife, see, it's been a couple of years, but they went and ate at Howard Johnson's, but it wasn't a Howard Johnson's. They did some CGI stuff, all that, you know, trickery. But the inside was Rod's in Indio, and it looks so vintagely authentic. And that's just a place that I would totally love to go. Totally like Instagram worthy, like get my picture taken in a booth, that type of place. And I'm sure that the food is delicious. So that's kind of cool. Now, it's interesting that Michael G. just mentioned San Francisco, because while the places that I was just talking about were down here in this way, through the magic of television, or whatever this is, magic of Facebook Live, we're going to scoot our way all the way up to San Francisco area. Because before we go down the coast and end up in the Los Angeles area, I want to mention a few places up here. Now, I'm trying to think. Retro Road Husband and I went up to, this is the one, if you remember the episode that we did, actually this probably figured into one of our trips, was it was fun when we went to Oregon because I think I told you the story how we flew out from Philly to San Francisco because we needed to do a layover and then get up to Portland, right? And then I was crafty because we have friends in San Francisco, and I decided to make the connecting flight be like leave 4 hours after we arrived. So if you were in the airport, that might be kind of boring, 4 hours in an airport. But if you have friends in the area, or maybe you could get an Uber or something, we called them, they picked us up at the airport, we threw our stuff in the car, then we drove into San Francisco and they showed us some sights, and we had a drink here and we had a food here, and it was just so much fun. And then they dropped us off at the airport and we flew and we completed it. So it was like a mini vacation, like just a few hours, but it was so much fun to do that. So think about that when you go safely flying again, to see what you can kind of, use your layovers to your advantage. But the couple of places that I want to tell you about in San Francisco, again, I cannot hit all of them because there are so many cool places in the entirety of California, but a couple that spring to mind, besides the Museum of Canadian. So first of all, of course, you're going to, Jeff Cooper, I'm going to send you the video because Laughing Sal, I'm a laughing gal, but she's quite a sight to see. They might have had one of hers in like Blackpool or something. Where was I? I was in San Francisco. I was saying rice-a-roni, the San Francisco treat. Remember that? Remember rice-a-roni? Your mom would make it in like the square electric fry pan and it was all delicious. Yeah, so you can actually go, you have to go on those, the ding-ding, the cable cars. Do the cable car thing. Doesn't matter. Don't try to be too cool. Don't try to not be a tourist because the tourists have the most fun because they're seeing all the cool stuff. So take those, take a cable car, go down to kind of where the dock area is. And here's a neat thing too. Try some things you might not have tried before. For example, food-wise or drink-wise. There's a place in San Francisco, oh crap, I wrote it down. Oh, the Buena Vista Bar. And it's a bar, right? But it's the place where they invented Irish coffee. Now, I'm sure people have put a little something something in their coffee before, but they made it fancy and official at the Buena Vista Bar. And Scott Marks, I'm so going there. Yes, I gotta lead up because that's like a killer place. But the Buena Vista Bar is where they make Irish coffee. Now, I'll admit, Maud Betty isn't a coffee drinker. Here's the goofy thing about me. I don't like hot coffee, but I love coffee ice cream. Welcome to me. But when I was there, I said, I have to try this because it's what they're famous for. And it was actually really good. It was hot, and we were there on a kind of a cold day and stuff like that. Pardon me, it's very cute. I'm getting Facebook messages from saying Happy New Year from people, and it was from people from my Morocco trip over a year ago. And so somebody from Morocco and somebody from Australia just popped into my WhatsApp to just say Happy New Year. So all over the world, it is getting to be New Year's. But we are in, focus. We are in California, mentally, and we're in San Francisco. So if you want to get a taste or, of Irish coffee at the place where they made it famous, do that. If, much like Scott Marks, and I think your Fisherman's Wharf, thank you for filling in the details, you guys. Frankly, I am a little bit on that vibe of it's a holiday day, because after this, we're hitting the road and buying some snacks and hunkering down for a fun night. Anyhow, Scott was just talking about the place in the Fairmont Hotel. I mangled the name of this the last time, but it's the Tonga. See, I wrote it down. The Tonga room at the Fairmont. And it is so cool because it is an old-timey tiki bar in this fancy old hotel. And he kind of shared in the comments, which I love, is that they have like a pool in the middle, that there's a floating stage, and a band will play on the floating stage in the middle of this tiki bar, in the middle of a fancy old hotel. If that is not something that makes you just say, that is awesome and I want to go to there, then I don't know what to say, because this place is iconic. It was threatened. It almost didn't stay open For years, it was so afraid, and immediately, and this is the thing I wanted to, mention to you, a little bit more, just drive your lifey as far as paying attention to those places where you're going to be like, I call it my pissed list. Like, are you going to be pissed that you didn't get to that place if it closed? And the Tonga room was on my list. And then luckily, because we made that detour between Philly and Oregon, we were able to go to the Tonga room. Sorry, I almost said Tonga Hut. I'm looking to make sure. Tonga room, and have some tiki drinks and see their light show. And we met some friends, and it was just so much fun. And that's what traveling is all about, Charlie Brown. It's doing things you can't do at home. And the reason we need to support all these unique, crazy places is because if we don't watch it, there ain't going to be nothing different to do there. You're going to go to San Francisco, you're going to have to eat at Panera, and you're going to have to drink at TGI Fridays because that's all that's going to be left. And why would you want to leave home if that's all you're going to do, right? So Tonga room at the Fairmont, you got to do that, all right? And then, yeah, San Francisco, again, I could spend an entire day there. So thank you, Mr. G. Yes. Okay, so there we go. Grateful Dead's house. It's Tops. Okay. I hate to be a heartbreaker, dream maker. It's Tops sadly recently closed. So thank you for putting that there. The Cliff House, I think Laura Stevens told me last week or the week before that they're also closing that, which is a perfect opportunity for me to remind you. Like, today I'm talking about these places as if they are still around now. To the best of my knowledge, as I say this, the places I'm mentioning to you still exist and they are still open, or maybe they are what I'm calling preserved in amber. They're like, I don't know what to do, so I'm going to go into hibernation for a while, but we hopefully will open up. I mention that because in the upcoming year, I will be rebroadcasting some of the videos that I did earlier in the year for each one of the 50 states. My suggestion to you too is I am making these recommendations, but please do your own due diligence. Please don't call them and make sure they're still open before you take your trip, because the last thing I would want you to do is be disappointed when you get there. So those are great suggestions, Michael. I totally wanted to go to the Fog City Diner. I think that was in So I Married an Axe Murderer, which is a movie that is very near and dear to my heart. I did not see the Grateful Dead house. It's Tops. We were able to actually visit there, so I'm glad we went there. And again, that's a kind of carpe diem, you guys. It's a carpe diem because get to the places. This is the thing, you guys. It is New Year's Eve, right? Tomorrow is a new year, and then we get a whole new year ahead of us, right? This is the perfect time for you to just spend some time. And you've been hearing for the past 51 episodes about the places that are important to me and higher, in certain degrees of like, I have to go there. That's kind of a nice place, but okay. Please, please, please do this for Maud Betty and yourself. Figure out the places that are important to you. Figure out the places, and I say places, but I mean kind of like vacation destinations, but also things that you want to do in your life that are going to light you up. And figure out what those are. Just listen to you, write them down. If you write it down, there's like a bajillion more chance that you're going to do it, and then make those things happen. It is possible to do those things, but I am pushing you with a sense of urgency, because especially now where, I back off of the urgency as far as don't go traveling when it is unsafe to do so. But when it is safe to go traveling, have your list already so you can hit the ground running. That's what I've been doing this whole year, is telling you places in every single one of the states to go to. So just have your list, your personal list of where you would want to drive. Not like, oh, well, we went there because Maud Betty was driving the bus. We all get out of this bus and we all get in our cars and we are behind the wheel, and you can go to any place you want to. You just have to first figure out what it is, because it's not a road trip unless you have a destination. Am I right? Am I right? All right, so I'm getting off of my Just Drive Your Life soapbox, which is where I'm going to spend the next year or so. So just in case you're wondering where my car is headed, I got my little soapbox in the back and be driving around. But we were in San Francisco. So now we're going to pretend like we're taking that bus ride, our bus ride with Maud Betty at the helm. We're going to go from San Francisco and we're going to drive down the coast. I'm doing this, but I could probably put my little map up here and be like, look, we're at the edge of the ocean. at the edge of the ocean, like that wonderful song by Ivy. We're going to go from San Francisco. Eventually we're going to be in Los Angeles, but I got a couple of things I want to tell you about this section right here, okay? So, take it from me. Do not try to cram too many things into your vacation or your trips, because this is one of those regrets that I have. So we went from San Francisco down to LA, and in between the two, we had some stops to make, and we had some timed tickets to get into, now I forget the name, the Hearst Castle, right? Hearst Castle, Rosebud, you know, whatever you call it, the movie with the guy, you know, somebody fill me in, please. Regardless, so yeah, you know, I will sell no wine before it's time. That guy. I love this. This is me like scrambling in my file of whatever. Oh, what was it? Rosebud, you know. In any case, we started driving from San Francisco down the coast, and it was so beautiful. It was so gorgeous because we were on the correct side. We were on like the far side, because we're here, not like Jeff Cooper on the wrong side of the road, but on the other side. So I was there, and you can literally like look over these cliffs and you can see the ocean. We saw all these like sea lions and stuff, and we could have pulled over and we could have like hung around. Citizen Kane, Scott Marks, thank you. We could have pulled over and seen these cool things. We could have breathed in that fresh smack of like salt air and seen these lolling fat little sea guys, and we could have chilled and we could have absorbed it. But no, you know what happened? Maud Betty tried to like you know, cram too many things in. I'm like, we can't stop, we have to get there. So instead of enjoying the journey like I try to tell everybody now, we didn't. We had to white knuckle it. We almost missed our tickets for Hearst Castle. And I gotta confess, while Hearst Castle was nice, yet I would have loved to have been able to stop and just take some time. So add some buffer to whatever you're doing. Just pad it out a bit so you leave some room for unexpected opportunities. And I say that on a vacation and a travel thing, but also in a life thing, okay? And while sea lions may stink, I don't know if we would have gotten close enough to smell them, but maybe we would have. We would have been having that story of, remember how much they smelled when we got there, right? So when you're driving down the coast of California, like, bank some time for doing that and factor in some time for pulling over and just absorbing the awesome views and things, because we didn't do that. And I kick myself in the tuchus daily because we didn't. And it's almost like, okay, I want to do a redo, but I'd rather do it right the first time. So we did go to Hearst Castle. That was fine. You know, it's a thing. You do it. But the one place I do want to tell you, two places I want to tell you between San Francisco and Los Angeles, because I got to spend some time on LA, is the Madonna Inn. And I'm not talking about Madonna like Vogue Madonna. I'm talking about like, it's called Madonna Inn. It doesn't have anything to do with Madonna. It is such a kitschy, over-the-top, crazy, wonderful place. It is a hotel and a restaurant, and it's just a kitsch lover's delight. We stayed there. This trip that we took, that we went down the coast, was our wedding anniversary. So I used that as an excuse for us to do the fun things. Another secret, people, about life. Don't, just do it. You don't have to wait for something important to happen. Like, doing what you want is the reason enough to do it, okay? Because what if we had waited and things were closed? So while we did kind of use that as our justification, right now I'm like, the justification is like, I want to do it. So we stayed at the Madonna Inn. Now the Madonna Inn, when you Google it, I think of two things. I think of pink, the color pink. I love the color pink. And everything there has like a pink motif. And every single room has got this over-the-top, kitschy, like, theme to it. And it is so hard to figure out what room you want to stay in. We ended up staying in one, I think it was called like the Cave or something, where it had like the walls were rocks, and it had like the shower was in like a cave, and it had this kind of opulent looking headboard, and it was just like so kind of kitschy and fun and tacky and wonderful. It was just such a fun place to be. It's got these, like the dining room has these pink banquettes. The coffee shop has these wonderful hammered copper tables. and you can have a slice of this giant pink cake. And you think it's going to be gross tasting because it's all pink, but it was really good. And here's the thing I did. They have pink sugar crystals in the shaker for your tea. Pink sugar crystals. This is when I say carpe diem, life is short. When we were there, we got in at night and we had dinner, and then we were leaving the next morning. So yeah, I had a piece of this giant pink cake for breakfast. And I stand by it because it was delicious, and I ain't never been there since. And if I hadn't done that, I would have regretted it. So the Madonna Inn, that's great. So I had that piece of cake, and then as we were driving south, we happened to see some signs across on the road with these kind of fun little cartoon characters, and we realized that it was a place called Pea Soup Anderson's. So Pea Soup Anderson's is kind of one of these places on the road, just off the roadside. Yes, you're right about the waterfalls and the urinal. Yep, we did see those. You have to do that, people. Pay attention to Scott. He knows what he's talking about today. And Craig, yes, you would love the pink cake. But en route, we saw these pictures. So we stopped at a place called Pea Soup Anderson's. And it's been around for decades. The little cartoon characters that are there were designed, I believe, by somebody originally from Disney. So they're really fun. There's like pea and soup or something. Their gift shop, Craig and I, you would love this gift shop so much. Pea Soupabilia. Like they had like socks with the little Pea Soup Anderson's guys. You could buy a soup ladle, like just all sorts of fun stuff. And here's the deal. I don't particularly like pea soup, but you know what I ordered at Pea Soup Anderson's? I ordered myself some pea soup. And it was pretty good. It was. I think it had croutons and like cheese on it. So you didn't get a lot of, you didn't really get a lot of the soup, but it was good. And it was just such a place that there's only one of them. It's been around for decades and who knows how long it's going to last. So when you see places like that, pull off. Also, I didn't put this on my list, which this is all from my head. This is all from my head. There's a place, I think it's Solvang, is right near there. And it's like it's a place that kind of looks like the Alps or something. But the reason we went there is there's a farm there that you could actually feed ostriches. Because we have a picture of Retro Road Husband. They give you like a giant, it's almost like a giant spoon that you feed the ostriches with. So you want to do that. That's fun. I like that. And now, okay, we're making good time. Good time. I see, again, I'm trying to cram it all in. I know I'm not going to get to them all, but I want to make sure. Thank you, Susan. Danish Modern. I want to make sure to get to all these places. And I have a wicked lot of places in Los Angeles that I want to tell you about. I don't know if it'll take the whole rest of the show, but I would be remiss without recommending Los Angeles places. Now, here's another funny thing, too. As I said, I grew up in Boston area where people were like, California, whatever. And then I also am a huge, huge music fan, right? I mean, I'm married to a musician. And that wasn't always the case, but I've always been a music fan, and that's why we met. And Retro Road Husband and I actually met out in Los Angeles because he was out there playing music and I was out there to listen to music. And the funny thing is for years, I had this unnecessary resentment towards Los Angeles because it seemed like all the bands I liked in Boston, when they wanted to make it big, like Boston wasn't good enough and they would go out to LA. And so we lost a lot of good bands out there. And then I got pretty pissed because then LA didn't appreciate some of the awesome bands that went out there. So I was like, Los Angeles, meh. Well, now I freaking love Los Angeles because that's where I met my future husband. Well, he was my future husband when I met him. And yes, Jeffrey Soffer at an IPO show. I could tell the story. I'm telling you, people, it's like a rom-com with a power pop soundtrack. I gotta wait. It's probably already that like the 90s music scene is already gonna look like an episode of Happy Days. So if anybody wants to write a movie about the how Maud Betty met Retro Road Husband, it has a happy ending. Let's just say that. But in Los Angeles, so we met. I'll just share this with you. It kind of segues in, and I see Michael Lauren Hirsch from the SCA, so he came in a perfect time. Because I want to tell you about a wonderful old movie theater that's in LA called the El Rey. The El Rey movie theater. It's now been kind of differented up, and I don't know exactly how they've changed it since we were there, but when I was there, it was a place where you can go see bands, and that is actually where I met my now husband. And it's a wonderful vintage movie theater with this great neon marquee. I have this really fuzzy picture. It's so funny because no, it's not around. I can't remember where I put it. I put this that I took of the marquee, and I had this old crappy camera because it was before cell phones and everything. That's how long it was. And who knew that after I took that picture, my whole life was changing as soon as I walked in that door. But yeah, it could be a Hallmark thing. Peter and Candy, nice to see you. Happy New Year. Those guys just bought a new house. Props to them. But the El Rey Theater is a place that I would have you go, and if you love neon signs, look for it at night. A lot of good, cool neon and architecture in Los Angeles. So, as I said, I'm on the wrong page here. The El Rey has a personal connection to me, but if you love vintage movie theaters, as you know I do, and neon, you're going to be all set. Here's a place that also I love, and it's got a little bit of a Retro Road husband story too, and he's out getting snacks for today, so I can tell this. Chateau Marmont. So this is a fancy hotel. Wicked fancy, as we would say in Massachusetts, and way more fancy than any place I had ever stayed in my life. But Retro Road Husband actually won a jingle contest for Chili's, and they sent us out to LA for like a weekend, and they said you could stay anywhere you want, they would pay for it, whatever. Well, I was like totally like, we're usually, when we would go there, we would like crash on somebody's futon. Like we would never stay, like, this is so funny. I have no idea what just happened. All right, now you got a funny seat. Oh, look. Like I'm backwards or something. Here, let me try this. I have no idea. My phone just crashed. I don't know what I'm doing here. No, I don't know why it's showing that. Oh my God, you guys. And now I'm upside down. This is hysterical. Okay, well, we might as well have waited. Look at me. Okay, I'm going to try to fix this. But isn't it funny? This is the last episode and all of this is happening. All of a sudden it just totally crashed. Let me try this. Ooh, okay, that looks good. That looks good. I think. Okay, here we go. Here we go. All right. I know, Australia, exactly. I am so sorry, you guys. I have no idea. I was talking and next thing you know, boom. Like, whatever. Life goes on. Yeah, upside down. Exactly. Matt Lober, nice to see you. Nice to see you. So anyhow, I was talking, actually, Matt Lober, you know Retro Road Husband, and I was talking about how when he won his Chili's Jingle contest, we ended up staying at Chateau Marmont. Fancy place to stay if you can afford it, or even if you can't afford it, splurge and stay there because it was kind of iconic. So if you have opportunities like that to do cool, unusual things, make them happen, do them, do all the things, okay? Here's a fun story. The Idle Hour. So there's this place in Los Angeles that when the last time we were out there, it was still kind of a crumbled down old school place. And then there was this wonderful guy, Bobby Green, who saw this old bar that was in the shape of like a giant barrel, and he revived it. I feel like there's a couple of barrels, but I'm going to stick with one. And then here's the thing. I'm so excited about this, you guys, is in the backyard of the Idle Hour that has already been revived. Did anybody ever see the movie The Rocketeer back in like the 90s? It was an okay movie or whatever, but I had a cookie jar from The Rocketeer because it had this thing of programmatic architecture. It was called the Bulldog Cafe. It was a cafe in the shape of a bulldog, and I got the a cookie jar because I was into, like, you know, the roadside stuff, right? So they have in the backyard of the Idle Hour, they actually have the Bulldog Cafe where you can go into it, like it's a full-size one. So excited to go see that. Also because I want to give Bobby Green my cookie jar because I just think it would be so cute to see the cookie jar next to the little cookie jar next to the big guy. So cool. So that is an awesome place that I have not been to, but it has been totally, I think it's highly recommended for retro road mappers. He also has redone and done marvelous things at the Formosa. So there's a couple of places I would totally check out like that. JC, Happy New Year to you too, Route 66er. Good to see you. So where were we? Los Angeles. So we are almost at, you know, JC, I think the last time I saw you was at the Santa Monica Pier because we went on Route 66 together. Couple of places I have not been. I've been to most of these. The one place I'm going to tell you about that I haven't been to, and I'm kicking myself, it's just usually when we're out in LA, there's a lot of stuff to do. And the Apple Pan. So the Apple Pan, sure, I'm assuming they serve apples, but they're known for their burgers. It's a tiny little place. And the Apple Pan is just one of those places that I recommend, even though I haven't been there. And I want to go to there. And I'm going to go to there. But since I haven't been there yet, even though I haven't been there, I'm sending you there. So the Apple Pan, it's been around for decades. Maybe even almost, I feel like it's 20s, 30s place. So the Apple Pan. But a couple of fun tiki bars in Los Angeles. The Tiki Tea, which is a teeny weeny little place. Tiki, one of the original tiki bars, still there, God willing. And the Tonga Hut. Now I mentioned when I was talking about Palm Springs, I mentioned how there was a Tonga Hut out there, and that opened up, I think that was opening up the first time we went to Palm Springs, so within the last 10 years or so. But the original Tonga Hut is in the Los Angeles area, and that is a fun, kitschy, cool tiki bar, and you know how Maud Betty loves the tiki bars. We got some glasses there, wicked fun. Bob's Big Boy. So here's the thing. I meant to mention this at the beginning when I was talking about Los Angeles vintage and retro stuff, but I got all carried away because of my own story about it. But here are two people I want you probably already know about, but if you ever want to find out like the details of the places in Los Angeles, Allison Martino of Vintage Los Angeles. She dives deep because that's her town. She grew up there. She knows a lot of old school Hollywood people. So check her out. Vintage Los Angeles. She knows about those places. And then, of course, our dear friend, my inspiration, Charles Phoenix. Charles Phoenix is also in the Los Angeles area. So much like you will see a lot of East Coast things from me, you will see a lot of Los Angeles area things from Charles. So you'll probably see some of these things. Yep, as Jeffrey, that's good to know about the Pier. And as I've said often throughout this whole thing, 51 episodes, we know things change by the day because of the COVID, so just be safe. And yeah, Charles, I don't know if I'm really back, am I? I don't know, you tell me. Oh, it's so funny. Everybody from Morocco, maybe that's where why it got crashed. And Deke Dickerson, I didn't know Deke. Was he from LA? I did not know that. So a few more Los Angeles places before we leave California and before I say goodbye to all of y'all on this retro road trip, bus drive of the United States. So if I'm a few more places, I learned from Cantor's Deli. Oh, Cantor's Deli. We went there after some gigs with Retro Road Husband before we were even a thing. And I remember thinking he was cute. He was in a band, but I was always thinking of boys in bands were cute, but he was extra cute. So Cantor's Deli, it was like a 24-hour kind of New York style deli. You can go get a knish. You can get breakfast anytime. Very, very like untouched as far as vintage. And I know you've seen it in a lot of like movies that were filmed in Los Angeles that want to give that old school vibe. I'm sure you have seen the inside of Cantor's. Bob's Big Boy, that's the one that reminded me of Charles Phoenix, because there's pictures of him all the time with the giant, and I'm looking around because my Bob's Big Boys are now out in the living room, but one of those iconic California places. It's got that kind of googie architecture. I'm going to talk about Pans in a minute. Pans, P-A-N-N''S. Go to there. Iconic California coffee shop, asymmetrical 1950s, 60s, really interesting architecture. The Big Boy has got that, and it's got the giant Big Boy statue outside where you can pose with it. They've also got wonderful neon signs out there. When we were there, I'm not even kidding you, there was a vintage car show going on. So there's layers of that vintage wonderfulness out there. So that's the Bob's Big Boy out there. The Dresden. So the Dresden, if you ever saw the movie Swingers, way back in the day, I saw the movie years before I even went there, but the Dresden is this fabulous old school restaurant. We've never gone to the restaurant, we always go to the bar because 2 words, Marty and Elaine. They don't play there all the time now. I think they've scaled back, but they're a wonderful kind of married duo who do really interesting versions of classic songs in that kind of lounge style. Every time I'm there, I ask them to play Old Cape Cod by Patty Page. And it's just a fun kind of throwback place to go hang out, the Dresden. And then also, the last place I want to mention to you in Los Angeles, because I know we're getting short on time, and I'm sure I could talk about places forever there. I have so many other pins in the map, but time is running short, and it's almost the new year. Is Musso and Frank. So Musso and Frank's, as I always mangle it, is this wonderful old historic restaurant in Los Angeles, and it is iconic. It's got a nice, cool, like, dining room that you know that deals were made there, and it's got a cool bar that you know deals were made there, like Hollywood's, you know, careers were made and broken there, and they have these wonderful kind of flapjacks that they would make, and it's just such a cool old throwback place. And the neat thing is that, as I mentioned, one of the times we went out to Los Angeles, we went there and we used our wedding anniversary as an excuse, and it totally made sense since we met in LA to actually celebrate that anniversary in Los Angeles. And we went to Musso and Frank and had a wonderful dinner. And it's so cool to, when you're out on the road and traveling, to have a connection to places because you shared a special moment there. You know, we had a wonderful meal, so we always think of it with fondness. And exactly, it's on Hollywood Boulevard. Hollywood Boulevard is where all the stars are. You know, in the sidewalk, and it's just an iconic old school place. And as you know, that those aren't, you know, they're not around anymore a lot. So it's so important to go visit them when they're safe. So that's the last place in Los Angeles proper that I'm going to mention to you. But I felt like it was only right that I should remind you to go all the way out to the shore or to the beach and go to the Santa Monica Pier. Now, we mentioned that it may be closed right now, so do your due diligence and research it to make sure that when you're there, you can visit it. But that is where my last trip to California ended, because my last trip to California was driving the entirety of Route 66 from Chicago to Los Angeles, and our crew of people, we all drove there. Now, the funny thing was, I have to share this with you. If anybody saw the video that I posted to remind you of today's episode from the band, the Explorers Club, called California's Calling Ya, they have a scene in that movie, or excuse me, their video, where the people are in the car and they're able to drive like onto the pier. And so I'm driving down Route 66 and I'm thinking, oh, won't it be great to drive down the pier and get that iconic shot? Nah, they probably got permission because they were filming something. I got there, and I'm sure JC did too, and it was like traffic cones and you couldn't go that way. So it was funny. You think you're gonna have like that Hollywood ending to the thing, and you end up having to take a left and pay for parking. But it was still a lot of fun. If you go to the pier, there is a sign that says it's the end of Route 66 that you can pose near if you choose to do so. There's a place where you can get a corn dog. I think it's called Hot Dog on a Stick. They've got an iconic, lovely vintage carousel. Craig Nye, I know you and I both love the vintage carousel, so you can ride on one of those. And then, seriously, you just can look out onto the ocean and say, and this is what I did. I'm sincere with you. I said, wow, I just drove Route 66. That was pretty awesome. And it wasn't just the idea of getting to the destination. Now, the destination got me on the road, but it was all about the journey. Kind of like from today, when you think about it. We started all hanging out on Thursdays back in March when I started my very first Retro Roadmap Facebook Live. And now I've done 51 of them. We have been to every single state together. And that's because we had that destination to get to all of them. So, that's it. And the neat thing is that I said at the end of Route 66, I said, that was awesome. What's my next adventure? And I'm not 100% sure what my next adventure is going to be. I will say this. I am so charged up about my new Just Drive Your Life thing, where I really try to encourage people. Like, I've encouraged you all the way, but I want to help people get to the destinations that they want to in their lives. I'm going to be like part tow truck driver. I feel like a travel agent. Sometimes I'm just going to be like the person, the sidekick on your road trip, telling you can get it. That's the thing that's bringing me the most excitement and joy, especially now where we can't really travel a lot. I did not know that the Three's Company intro was filmed there. I love all the things you guys are doing in the comments here. And I just want to wish everybody a Happy New Year. And really, really, please, please, please. Yes, Scott Marks, thank you for filling in the blanks. This is called teamwork, I'm telling you. I'm anxious to get out on the road too, but until then, here's what we can do, people, is we can make sure, we can do the research, we can prep ourselves, so as soon as it is safe to do so, we know exactly where we want to go. We know the best route to get there. We've got gas in our tanks, we've got film in our cameras, we've got the right attitude, and we show up and we drive our lives like a road trip, because life is not meant to be a commute. Life is a road trip. You're supposed to enjoy the drive while you're on it. And so I suggest everybody to just drive your life. If it's from, the East Coast to the West, ending in California, if it's California to wherever, if it's just around, bring some joy to your life, drive to the places that are important to you, and I will see you on the road next year. Okay? Love you guys. Happy New Year. Just drive your life.